So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Nevertheless Book Talk for what month is this?
This is September.
It's the end of September. Last day of September. I want to thank you for joining us. I have my lovely lady friends here joining me today. And we're, like I said, we're just going to discuss, obviously, the book, Nevertheless, Peace in Spite of Pain. If you don't have a copy, go to sharondajones.me, get you a copy. But also just talk about some of our own nevertheless moments, some of our own victorious moments in our lives, to just try to bless one another, bless you, be an encouragement to you, an inspiration, because we all have gone through. And it's not about avoiding the go through, it's about growing in the growth, in the through. Okay, so again, my name is Sharonda Jones, but I should already know that. And I want to take a moment and have my good girlfriends to introduce themselves. So since the microphone is right here.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharon Williams.
Hi everyone, I'm Latanique Cooper.
Hi, I am Miss T.
Yes, Miss T. Miss T. And so let's see. Should we start with questions or should we talk about the book? How should we start?
Give us a little summary.
I feel like I want y'all to tell me about the book. But also the book, Nevertheless, Peace in Spite of Pain. It is, I call it a through story, although it is a true story about my life. It talks about overcoming pain of abandonment, abuse, and I think it's particularly special to talk about the domestic violence piece in the book because we're about to approach domestic violence awareness. And domestic violence was basically a generational curse because my mom endured it, I endured it, and it was important to me to break that cycle so that my girls, and even my son, because it's not just a thing for women, men are abused domestically as well. So I wanted to make sure that cycle was broken so that my children wouldn't have to endure those same challenges. So it talks about all those things, but the beauty of God's grace is that we are entitled to peace in spite of pain. The Bible tells us that trials and tribulations will come, but when you are in His Word and you have God in your heart and you have your salvation and redemption, that you are still entitled to that peace nevertheless. And so the title comes from Ezekiel 20:17, and that's where, the people of God went to the prophet and they wanted to know, what are we going to do? What should we do? And basically God spoke to His people and said, you did not obey my statutes. You basically didn't do what you were supposed to do. And I mean, I've had some times when I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I still got some times when I don't do what I'm supposed to do. Nevertheless, He said, I spared you from destruction. And the only way He can spare you is if He's right there with you. And your end did not have to come. Their end did not come. Our end does not have to come from situations that we endure and we encounter. And so that's basically, did I get it good about the book? Did I do good about the book? I think so.
From your perception.
Yes.
Read something, it's all about our perception and what we perceive, what we take from it. So everybody, that's why we're having this, everybody's going to get a different point of view and something different from the book.
You're right.
That's
but
true.
I loved it. It was so familiar to me that certain chapters made me feel like it was my life.
Yes.
And it's just crazy that I always hated the saying that what you go through wasn't for you, it's not for you. I hated that because I was like, I felt like, forgive me, it was stupid. Well, why would I go through something for somebody else? But that's so true. And now the pain is not attached to a lot of these things. All I can do is share with other people how God has delivered me and kept me here. And now it was for someone else. It doesn't belong to me anymore. Right. So this book, it was so powerful and it was so relatable, and just seeing that God brought you through and you survived, it gives me hope because I'm not done. You know, I'm still on my journey. And
we all are.
but it's just, to me, I guess with me being a little bit younger, it's like some of the things in the book are actively going on with me now. Not the DV, but just some of the feelings, and some of the stuff is really new, and it's giving me hope because I'm actually experiencing it. And it's, you know, when you're going through things, it's like you don't feel like nobody understands. But to open up a book and read and like, oh, you know, well, God is with me, and Miss Sharonda made it, and just knowing her and seeing the end result is just powerful.
Okay,
So
y'all
God
not
is
gonna
good.
make me cry. I know it's too early.
So what exactly was it that made you want to share this book with us? I mean,
Obedience, because I didn't want to do it.
Because I mean, I know you went through a lot of hurt, and you went through a lot of pain, and to share that with the world is really, different. But it's awesome for us because this book like blessed my life because parts of it I went through too. Some of the things that happened to you happened to me.
Right.
The world don't know it yet, but some of the things that happened to you happened to me also. And I just wanted to know, what made you share the whole
Oh
thing.
my goodness, this book was a tremendous journey. And people ask me all the time, how did I start? And it's 16 chapters, so it wasn't overnight. It was through a lot of journaling, a collection of journal entries, and it's so funny because when I would share my story with people just in conversation, and they would just be like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "What?" It's like it's not, it's nothing, right? It was nothing in the sense that I got through it. I didn't want to think about it, so I didn't want to give that much. Not saying I gave power to it, but to me, it didn't seem that significant. Okay, so for example, I'll put it this way. I read a post that someone spoke to as far as like the drug epidemic in DC back in the 80s, and how, there was so much violence in the city at that time, and how it was just a crazy place to be in. But it was like, that was my life. That was my everyday. Seeing the kids on the corner, that's just what we did. All my friends either having babies or, on welfare. That's what we did. So it wasn't it wasn't as big as people made it out to be. But when I would talk to people outside of my environment, outside of my community, when they hear your life or hear your story, they're just like mouth wide open. And then it dawned on me, I said, well, you know what? If I can share with other people that, guess what? What may seem like normal to you is not normal. The enemy wants you to accept what you're feeling, what you're going through, the pain you're enduring every day as normal. And it's not normal. Right? So you can become hope. So you can just never aspire to get out of that environment, out of that scenario. And so with the book, and it's so funny because initially when, God gave me the vision for the book, I said, okay, 7 chapters. Now I'm telling him what I'm going to do. I was like, I think I got a good 7 chapters. He was like, And the clear as day, the number 16 came in my head. It's like 16. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. Oh, 7, 6 and 1 equals 7. So now I'm trying, negotiate the numbers game. Like, am I hearing you right? So I said, OMG, like OMU, how I'm going to do 16 chapters. So then I said, okay, well, I'm just going to start piecing it together and working it out. I've just got to be obedient and just sharing some of the stuff. And even writing the stories, it was difficult because I had to relive so much of it. And then remembering, because people say, how do you remember every detail?
Exactly.
And it's because it was something I can never forget. And I believe, and I don't remember which chapter, but I believe I put it in the book that it was for me to remember for this moment.
Yes.
Because if you were to ask me now, a lot of it, I'm just like, what? Let me go back to the book. But it is so crazy because as I was writing it, I could remember so much. It flowed.
Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit. Bringing it back.
For me to remember it. And then so I said, well, how am I going to break down 16 chapters? And he's in number 3. So I was like, okay, I can do 3. I do 3 parts. What are you going to name them? So it was just like a lot of conversation back and forth. Me and Holy Spirit, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And so the initials, DBR. So I was like, oh, okay, so now I know. So now I'm going to tell Holy Spirit what I know, what it's going to be. Death, burial, resurrection. Yeah. I died, or, I was buried. Now I'm getting all deep. I was buried, Lord, buried in my foolishness. Then I was resurrected. He was like, no. No.
We are not doing that. We are not doing
He was like, you're doing the most. No. And it's Little Phoenixes came to mind. He gave me the Little Phoenix, and that's how he speaks to me. I'm a very arts and crafts, visual person. Mm-hmm. So he gives me visions, and probably because I don't listen. So he's just like, I gotta show you. So Little Phoenixes came to mind, and anyone that knows Little Phoenixes, my nonprofit youth empowerment nonprofit organization. Our tagline is Dream, Believe, Rise. Okay. And so, it just is so crazy because when he gave me Little Phoenixes, and then I think I looked on my desk and I saw Dream, Believe, Rise. I was like, good. Confirmation. I said, okay. Yes. Okay. So then I was like, okay, so this is, you want me to talk about the dream. You want me to talk about always being hopeful, always knowing in my spirit that there was more, that better was out there. And just knowing that in his word and Psalms 23 and just understanding that his mercy is always with me. It was like, it was just a dream. I was living a dream. It seemed like a nightmare, but it was still, I was asleep. I had not been awakened to his true power. So, and like I said, going through the believe portion, and then obviously the last chapter is rise. So as it was coming together, I was so glad that I was obedient, getting this, and then having people, and after it was released, having people come and share their own stories with me. It was just like, it was all you, God. Because I know I didn't want to talk about rape. I didn't want to talk about, just the relationship with my mom. And I'm so glad that I did.
Yes, we're all glad you did.
That's what comes to mind with me, the truth setting you free. Because like all of the shame and stuff like that, like you say in the book several times, that the enemy uses these things to keep us bound and, just keep us depressed. And, you have to let it out. And you have to confess it with your mouth. You have to say. And then with the book, I'm thinking about how you could have ended it. But I like the way you went into, at the time, like present day, to show us that you still a work in progress, and you when something is rising, it's still coming up gradually. So I was down to the wire reading more and more, and I like how you kept it somewhat current. But I thought about, okay, because even when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is the end, but it wasn't the end. And I just appreciate it because it showed more of the journey where, okay, she got married, but she's still a work in progress with this, okay? She has the family, because that's the reality. Right. Even though God is going to bless us with these things, we still have to keep on rising and being obedient and fighting and, resisting the devil so he can flee.
I know that's right.
I want to go back to where you were speaking about how people would ask you these things and you would be like, oh, it's nothing. But, it was nothing to you. But for people that were reading your story, and there was and people that know you like me, to know you before I knew your story, I would have never guessed that you had been through what you had been through. Because you're crazy. Oh my gosh, how can this woman be so have such a sense of humor and, have you cracking up and have lived, gone through,
It just
the life she's been through. And so not too long ago, I sent her this scripture about Shadrach, Meshach, and that bad Negro. Okay, so
My 3 boys.
them 3 boys, them 3 bad boys. So they went through the fire, but they came out unscathed. They did not smell like smoke. Had you not known their story, you would not have known they have been through the story.
Exactly.
And it reminded me of Sharonda, because she's been through the fire.
Yes.
She's been through the fire, but to know her,
It just don't
she doesn't
seem
smell of smoke.
like it. Exactly.
Okay.
And when a lot of people go through changes like that or hurt like that, constant, one right after another thing, you try to get better, but something always happen bad. A lot of people stay in that rut.
Right.
A lot of people stay right there instead of moving forward or trying to move forward or progressing.
Right.
But they just want to stay right there, but you didn't.
Right.
That lets us know that Holy Spirit was with you.
Right.
Even when you felt like he wasn't, or you was going through, like for instance, when you had to deal with the what you call it? I'm sorry. But the sacrifices. Yeah, the sacrifices, different sacrifices, and you didn't like that, and you specifically said that in the book. You didn't like that, but you had to deal with that. Even dealing with that, you could tell Holy Spirit was with you, and He made a difference in you to know that this is not me.
Right.
I want to. This life is not me.
Right.
So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Okay, so the time that Miss Sharon is speaking of is the time my mom was in a religion that involves or requires or part of it includes animal sacrifices. And so even as a child, a moment I know I'll never forget is visiting the temple and seeing a goat run around. It's like in the South or in the country. I don't know where they have goats running around, but I know that in DC, in DC it's not common to have a goat running around. But for me as a child, it wasn't out of the norm because that was the life we lived. And so I remember coming to the temple and there was a goat. So as a little girl, I'm 8 years old. I don't have pets. So I see this goat. I want the goat to be my pet. So I was like, okay, this is so fun. I got a pet goat. I'm like rubbing him and just talking to the goat. And then, I'm thinking this is so cool, like this. And it was more like a family. And I believe I'm not going to say it's limited just to that religion. It's all religions.
Yes, it's family.
It's family, and family is important. And regardless of your religion, regardless of blood, there are people in your family who will take advantage of you. Period, point blank. I'm not putting down one belief system over another, but the fact of the matter is there are people in your family who will take advantage of you. And that was the situation with my mom. So the goat, back to the goat, I'm playing with the goat. I decide I want to go outside and play. I come back in. I'm looking for Billy. It's not a name to goat Billy. So I'm looking for Billy. Billy is not in the place. I'm like, where is Billy? And I go into the shrine room, and there's Billy, but head only. As a child, how do you deal with that?
You gonna make me.
Billy's head is in the middle of the floor, and Billy's body is on the table in another room, being skinned. And I went into shock. And I remember there was a bench. I remember going to hide under the bench. And I did that in school. Here I am, a little girl in elementary school, hiding under my desk, and I used to place my coat in front of my desk, and I would literally hide under my table. So when you think about what teachers endure, here I am, a young little girl in school, hiding under my desk, and my teacher does not know why. Now she has to deal with a child with those kind of challenges at home. But I'm not going to jump around. So Billy, found out Billy wasn't Billy. Billy was Billyette. She she was pregnant, you know.
Lord.
So, because when they, you know, and I mean, we eat goat meat, so it's not like this is shocking
And
that a
goat
goat
milk.
was killed
Yeah,
for
right.
the, you know, to eat
Yeah.
the meat. So, but it was my pet. I wasn't
Yes.
prepared. I see Billy's head, and so the sacrifice piece, it was different. But there are systems where that's okay, and we eat the meat like we eat. Animals are killed every day for you know, our food. So when you think about it in that way, you got to compartmentalize everything in order to get through. In order to eat food, what do you eat? One bite at a time. So the eating of the meat, I was fine with that. It was the head in the middle of the floor that shocked the crazy into me. And so as I got older, it was like when I learned that one sacrifice has already been done on my behalf.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna get emotional. One sacrifice. I don't need to kill a goat.
Right.
I don't need to kill a chicken.
Exactly.
I don't need to kill a pigeon. One sacrifice was made on my behalf. And so my commitment, my responsibility is to share the love of God that gave his only begotten son so that I can have life. My responsibility is to live a life on this earth that honors that sacrifice. Period. The true,
Yes.
the one and only sacrifice.
Yes.
So, so I don't know, like, I know we're only going to do 30 minutes on live, but like I said, when you're here, you're present. We continue the conversation afterwards because, like I said, I want to make sure that my good girlfriends have an opportunity to share. And a lot of stuff they don't want y'all to know. I'm the only one to tell all my business. But do we have any comments, Miss Monica? Any questions? Good. So let's keep going. So let's see. Did I answer your question?
I had a whole lot of questions.
Oh, she got a whole lot of questions. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
But, I was just concerned about how you felt when your mom went to Chicago and did not take you, and she said that it was because her boss said she couldn't, and you expected her to turn her boss down,
Right.
and she didn't.
And she didn't.
So how did that make you feel?
And I want to put a pin right there for a second, and I want to speak to my mom or regarding my mom and our relationship. Now, okay, I'm not gonna cry because
sorry.
this woman is one of the greatest women that I know. I love her with all my heart.
I didn't mean to make you cry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Because when I think about, and when I sent her the book before it was released, because I needed to honor her in the sense, like, this is part of your story too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't want, because we went through this when I was honored for a scholarship in high school because my story came out, you know, Channel 4, NBC aired my story as far as the sacrifices and the religion and living through that. They call it a Beat the Odds Award. So when I received that award in high school, a lot of light was brought to the situation that I lived in as far as the animal sacrifices and stuff. And I remember sitting next to her and watching the weight it put on her.
Because I can feel it just with you sharing, and I'm thinking about just kind of like a lot of the movements that's going on, and people are sharing and sharing, but it's your story, but it's not just your story. It's other people included, and when we share, do we somewhat sacrifice other people's privacy, or do we not care? And we can share in different ways. It's freeing to us, but it could be damaging or hurtful to somebody else because they're not ready,
Right.
or they may have shame or different emotions around it. So it's just like, I just thank God that the Holy Spirit has given you forgiveness and clarity, and you able to move on. and not hold anything against your mother, and still speak highly of her and know that, you know, the pain that she went through and things like that. And now you finally understand, because when you're young, you don't understand. And we want these perfect mothers, and, you know, we have these expectations. And I struggle with things with my daughter, and I thank God that you are my daughter's mentor, because I thought I was being a perfect mother, and we find out later that your best wasn't good enough, or this decision was damaging to your child. So I'm glad that you're able to still forgive her, love her, and put that crown on her head, irregardless of anything that she exposed you to or things that happen. Because the enemy will use that type of stuff to just create these grudges and things like that. And my mom is schizophrenic, so I'm still in the process of forgiving my mother, not resenting her, and not dwelling on what she should have did and how she could have been better. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle even now, but I know that she's a beautiful woman, and she is strong, because she could have just gave up, but she tried her best.
Right.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to.
No,
bring
no,
any
no, no,
hurt.
no,
Yeah.
no. You're fine.
just-
No. I wanted to say that, and that was a wonderful opportunity for me to honor her. And before I answered the question, that
Yeah.
was also. And I wanted to say that because I sent the book to her to see, just to get her blessing.
Right.
And so, you know, I got funny stories with everything. But I called her, and that's like, because she didn't respond. I was like, did she get the book? Oh my God. This thing about to come out. It's about to be released. So I called her and I said, Mom, did you get the book? And she's like, yes. I said, oh, okay. Did you read it? She's like, yes. Okay, so then here I go. Oh, it gets better at the end. You know, I'm thinking, you know, it has a happy ending. She said, oh, I read the whole thing. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, Mom, what's the problem? And she said, I feel like as if you're telling the world that I chose my religion over you, or that I didn't put you first. And I said, Mom, listen here. And I said, you are my first strong black woman.
Right.
I said, I don't feel like I may have felt that way growing up. I said, but the fact of the matter is, now I understand you weren't putting it before me. It's like fungus growing, like mold growing. If it's mold growing in the closet, just because you shut the door doesn't mean it goes away. Mm-hmm. Now it's going to keep growing. And so I told her, I said, you had a void in your life. And when you had me, I didn't, and it wasn't my responsibility to fill that void. The void wasn't filled by you becoming a mother. You still had some stuff you had to deal with. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there was no one in your life to guide you, to protect you, to steer you. You know, my mom didn't know her parents. She's a single child. I'm a single child. And so she didn't have those same, or if she had them, she didn't understand or receive them, right? And unfortunately, there were people who came along to manipulate her. Right. And so, and I said, and the grace of God, and I'm her only child that survived. I said, so do understand that what you went through, you still endured and came out of it. Right. You were my example that you can come out of it. I said, so from that, it gave me the strength to figure out how I need to come out of it to help you. Granted, when I was a child, I didn't want that responsibility. Yeah. I didn't want the responsibility of helping you out of your mess.
I remember saying that.
But he and so back to your question as far as going to Chicago, it hurt like crazy because I wanted my mom. Yeah. She was all I had. I didn't want anybody else. Right. But then you think about kids that are going in foster care. Of course they want their mom, even when their mom is not the best person for them at that moment. Children still want their moms.
Yes.
And it's like, but moms have to take advantage of that time to heal.
Yes.
You owe it to your children to heal when you are away from them. When you don't heal when you are away from them, then you're not doing just to your role as a parent. Because I'd rather have this time away from you and have you heal, and then you come back and we're stronger than ever.
And I do want to add that there are no perfect moms.
Right.
Because I'm one. There's not any perfect moms. We're who we are by the grace of God.
Exactly.
So, I mean, everything your mom did, she didn't mean to hurt you in any kind of way.
And it was, and like she said, it's not about, it was not about me.
Yes.
It was not about me. And I told my mom it was about, you know, you healing, you growing, you becoming who I need you in this moment. And so she said, all right, Sharonda, I'll go back and reread it. She said, I'll go back and reread it. And she called me back. Oh, God, it's so good.
Yes, all the
She
time.
called me back, and I could hear she had been crying. And she said, this story is a blessing. Everyone needs to hear it, read it.
Yes.
And so she has been just my, you know, promoter, my strongest support, and she always has been in the way in which she can be. And so,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. The best she could.
It reminds me of I was thinking about the saying how you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
So that's just chalk that up. That's how I feel about the situation with certain moms and stuff like that. They just don't have it to give, and sometimes they think they do. But I was thinking about the fact that God have replaced everything that the enemy stole from you.
Amen.
So
Amen.
even if you
Yes, he
didn't
will.
have
Yes,
all
he
of
will.
that as a kid, yes, I feel it. I feel it rising up. The sweater, honey.
I know that's right. He
He
did all
will replace
that.
everything that you lost. So
Yes.
just how amazing is that? And it's many years later, but everything is over. The abandonment is over. All of it, when you need her, she's there.
Yes.
You know, she's caretaking for the children. She's giving you the love, the advice. So you got it all back.
Yes.
In God's time, and we get angry with it. We don't understand it, but it's still perfect.
Exactly.
It's still perfect.
And look at you now, girl. Look at you now.
No, but I know we got to wrap up. I just want to say thank you, ladies, for
Yes.
spending this time with me. I do appreciate you. And like you said, you are absolutely right. God will restore, He will redeem. And when I think about all the people He's placed in my life, even during that time with my godparents, and then, you know, my first set of my godmother, her mother, who I call Grandma Toots, you know, for them to come along and adopt me in a sense, and then adopt my son, and then when I met the Thorns, and I got another set of godparents, and it's just, I cannot complain. And so I freely share my story because I know that, and I say this even about marriage, it's like when God has blessed you with so many opportunities to grow and for protection and just people to come in your life and guide you, you would be spitting in His face for you to be anything other than appreciative. You would be spitting in His face if you do anything other than share how He will be there for you, how He has, you know, already orchestrated everything that you need. You may not see it how you want to see it, when you want to see it, but it's there. And so I felt like if I didn't share, that you can go through, you know, feeling like your family left you. You can go through feeling like, you know, someone has attacked you, manipulated you, and even the abuse, you know, your husband smacks you across the face, or, you know, or does worse. As long as you have breath in your body, then guess what? You can get beyond today.
Yes.
You can get beyond today. So,
He provides a way of escape.
yep.
And you are a blessing to us, girl. A serious blessing. I'm so
Oh, well,
serious.
I love you, girl. I love you, girl.
You are
So-
a blessing to us. That book is a blessing.
Well, yes, the book is a
They need to
blessing.
get it.
Make sure you get a
Need to get this
copy.
book.
And look, and then you can take notes. Like,
Get the book, get the book, get the book, get the book.
so we're going to log off from you all, but you know, we're going to hang out a little longer. We're going to pull out our tea. And yes, positivity. We are going to get some grub. We don't want to eat on camera. We want y'all to see us smacking. So, but I want to thank you for joining us. I want to give a shout out to a few of my favorite vendors. I Am Visual Photography. Right here. I have you know, which name you want me to give? Because we have jewelry, artistic expressions. You want to find it on Instagram. So we have some wonderful jewelry. Sharon, you got a business I can promote?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. It's
I want to shout out Clark Bailey Media, because, you know, I've gotten a few headshots from them as well. So I just wanted to, is there another vendor? Let's see. We got Little Phoenix's Foundation. Feel free to visit littlephoenixfoundation.org. And donate. Yes, and donate. Be sure to donate. So the links will be posted when the video goes on YouTube. But otherwise, peace. We out. Bye.